In the land of Mordor, in the fires of Mount Doom, the Dark Lord Sauron forged in secret a Master Ring to dominate all life. One ring to rule them all. One by one, the free lands of Middle-earth fell to the power of the ring. Yet, when all hope had faded, the king's son Isildur took up his father's sword and cut the ring from Sauron's hand. For 2,500 years, the ring was lost. But in time, it passed to a hobbit who carried it to Rivendell, where a great council was called to decide the ring's fate. 9 companions would form the Fellowship of the Ring to see to its destruction. Frodo Baggins and his faithful friend Sam Gamgee would scale the slopes of Mount Doom and cast the ring into the fire from whence it came. To draw Sauron's eye from the ring-bearer, Aragorn, heir of Isildur, marched upon the Black Gate of Mordor and challenged the armies of the Dark Lord. As Aragorn and his army approached the Black Gate, Sauron prepared to empty all of Mordor to oppose him.
Hold your ground! Hold your ground! A day may come when the courage of men fails, but it is not this day! This day we fight!
We can give Frodo his chance if we keep Sauron's eye fixed upon us.
For Frodo.
There are too many of them, Aragorn. Thin their numbers, or we'll be overrun.
Trolls! Quickly, Aragorn! Bring them down!
A Balrog? There weren't any Balrogs at the Black Gate. That was in Moria, silly.
Oh, pardon me, Mr. Frodo, sir, if I don't spend all my time listening to Dad's stories. Frodo! Frodo! Frodo Gamgee, where are you? Go on, Mother's calling. Bet she's going to make you help with the party.
It's been 15 years since Mr. Frodo and I made the journey to Mount Doom to destroy the ring. With Sauron defeated, Aragorn was crowned King of Gondor. Now, the king is coming to the Shire, and a great party is being held in his honor. Of course, as mayor of Hobbiton, it's up to me, Samwise Gamgee, to see that everything's ready. I'll be needing some help, and I think I know just the lad. You see, Mr. Frodo left with the elves, but there's still a Frodo living at Bag End. My son, Frodo Gamgee. Let's get back to Bag End then. I've been so busy I forgot all about second breakfast. Years ago, before any of you were born, there used to be rangers patrolling the lands hereabouts. There weren't many of them, and they were a grim folk, but good-hearted. Their leader was known by the name of Strider, and he was a friend of Gandalf. One day, Gandalf told Strider to look out for a hobbit named Frodo, who would be traveling out of the Shire carrying a precious burden. It was a grim, wet night in the village of Bree, and black riders were about, seeking the ring. Frodo decided that we should stay the night at the Inn of the Prancing Pony. The riders came for us in the night. But Strider had found us first.
What are they?
They are the Nazgul, ring wraiths, neither living nor dead. At all times they feel the presence of the ring.
Where are you taking us?
To the House of Elrond.
It would be a long journey to Rivendell. Dawn was breaking as we left Bree and started out on the long road to Rivendell.
Gentlemen, we do not stop till nightfall.
Strider could tell from their tracks that black riders had passed this way recently. We had to get off the road before they returned.
Get off the road! Quick!
The black rider stopped right above us, sniffing around like a hound following a rabbit scent. We all held our breath for fear of being heard, but finally, it turned away. We'd escaped the black rider, but ahead of us lay a great swamp, and that held its own dangers. Swarms of hungry midges roamed the marsh, biting anything that strayed into them. We made camp at Weathertop that night. It was close to dawn when the ring wraiths attacked. Strider! Help him, Strider!
He's been stabbed by a Morgul blade. This is beyond my skill to heal. He needs Elvish medicine.
As Strider talked to the elven lady, we heard a crash in the woods behind us. Out of the trees lumbered a great big troll.
I've been looking for you for 2 days.
The elf, Arwen, seemed to know Strider, and she understood our plight at once.
He's passing into the Shadow World.
We must get him to my father. Hon Mabathon Rohan Alindim.
Arwen, ride hard. Don't look back.
But what happened at Rivendell?
There's plenty more to tell.
Mayor Gamgee, they finished the archery stall. I said you'd be wanting to inspect it soon.
Right you are, Tom. We'll finish the tale later. Come on, you lot. It's time young Frodo learned how to use a bow. Let's see now. Where were we?
Rivendell!
Ah, yes. The Black Riders chased Arwen all the way to the borders of Rivendell. But once in the country of the elves, she turned to face them. As they tried to cross at the ford of Bruinen, she called up the magic of the land and brought forth a great flood that crashed down on the Black Riders like a stampede of wild, white horses. Every one of them was washed away. With the Black Riders defeated, Arwen brought Frodo safely to Rivendell, but he was sorely wounded by that Morgul blade. So he was taken into the care of Elrond, who was Arwen's father and the greatest healer in all the land. And while Mr. Frodo was recovering, Strider and the rest of us traveled on to Rivendell to join him.
Anduril, Flame of the West, forged from the shards of Narsil. Put aside the Ranger. Become who you were born to be.
The spiders' nests were all in flames, but before Strider could so much as catch his breath, a big old queen spider burrowed up out of the ground. While Strider was helping Merry and Pippin, a great host of orcs had come down from the mountains.
Right. Where are we going?
We left the safety of Rivendell for the steep paths through the misty mountains. But an unnatural snowstorm hit, sent by the treacherous wizard Saruman. We were almost buried and couldn't go on. Our only hope was to go under the mountains, through the ancient mines of Moria. The Gate of Moria was hard to find, and harder still to open, but Mr. Frodo found a way. So the Gate of Moria swung open, and all of us went in. But before we could go further, a terrible tentacled creature attacked from the water behind us. It tried its utmost to eat Mr. Frodo, but Strider fought it off. And then there was a mighty crashing behind us as we ran into the mines.
Into the mines! We now have but one choice. We must face the long dark of Moria. Behold, the great realm and dwarf city of Dwanodelf.
Now there's an eye-opener and no mistake.
Here lies Balin, son of Hundin, Lord of Moria. He is dead then.
Oh, no.
It's as I feared.
Orcs!
Let them come. There is one dwarf yet in Moria who still draws breath.
What is this new deathlight?
A Balrog. A demon of the ancient world. This foe is beyond any of you. Run!
The only way out was blocked by a sturdy gate. The Balrog had us trapped.
Keep the beast away from me while I open the gate!
The door creaked open just as all hope seemed lost, and we fled from the Balrog once more. Below us, a crumbling staircase led to the bridge of Khazad-dûm. The eastern gate of Moria was almost in sight, but even here, goblins lay in wait. I don't think I had ever felt sadder than the moment we thought Gandalf was lost.
But it was all right, wasn't it? Gandalf came back later.
Oh, you're quite right, Frodo. We did see him again. But he wasn't quite the same. After we left Moria, Strider led us to Lothlorien, a mighty elven forest. It was the most wondrous place I had ever seen, with golden malorn trees as tall as any in Middle-earth, even taller than the one in the party field.
You've told us all that before. Hundreds of times. Shh, you two. I'd like hearing about Lorien.
Now then, you lot, pipe down. Of course you all know about Lorien and Galadriel and Celeborn, and how after we left, we were set upon by Saruman's Uruk-hai. That was when me and Mr. Frodo went off towards Mordor with that terrible ring. But Merry and Pippin were captured by the Uruk-hai, and Strider had to try to rescue them. The Uruks carried the hobbits with unnatural speed and untiring purpose.
Legolas, what do your elf eyes see?
The Uruks turn northeast. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard.
The Uruks knew they were being pursued and left guards to cover their escape. The Hunters had finally closed in on their quarry. They found the Uruks fighting with Sauron's orcs over who would take Merry and Pippin. There wasn't much time.
For Rohan!
The White Wizard approaches.
Do not let him speak. He will put a spell on us. Who are you?
Show yourself!
You are tracking the footsteps of two young hobbits. Merry and Pippin are quite certain.
It cannot be. Gandalf.
Gandalf? Yes. Gandalf the Grey. That was my name. I am Gandalf the White. And I come back to you now. At the turn of the tide. You must travel to Edoras with all speed.
As one stage of Strider's journey ended, another had begun.
I think we should all go and see if any more party stalls are ready.
Oh, now there's an idea. Strider's gonna reach Rohan soon, the land of the Horse Lords, you know, and it'll keep. I'd wager old Farmer Burrows will be wanting someone to try out the riding stall. Come on then, everyone. Let's see if we can finish the story before the king arrives. So there he was, Gandalf the White. This new Gandalf seemed more serious now. I felt he'd never want to do those wondrous firework displays like the old Gandalf. But Strider was no less glad to see him for all that. The road to Edoras was long, and time was pressing. But with Gandalf to guide them, all obstacles could be overcome.
That is one of the Meras, unless my eyes are cheated by some spell.
Shadowfax is the lord of all horses, and has been my friend through many dangers. Edoras, and the Golden Hall of Meadowseld. There dwells Theoden, King of Rohan, whose mind is overthrown.
Gandalf the Grey is coming. He's a herald of woe.
I cannot allow you before Theoden King. The gates of Edoras shall stay closed by order of Grima Wormtongue.
Lady Éowyn commanded the gates to be opened, and even Grima's henchmen couldn't refuse the king's niece. Thanks to Aragorn, the last of the injured villagers reached the safety of the hall. Meanwhile, outside, Éomer and his company of horsemen had joined the battle. The final beacon burst into flames. Now the riders of Rohan were sure to heed their call.
By order of the king, the city must empty. We make for the refuge of Helm's Deep. Do not burden yourself with treasures. Take only what provisions you need.
There at Helm's Deep, the people of Rohan prepared to make their stand. Though Éomer and his army of loyal Rohirrim were many leagues distant, Gandalf would ride to seek their aid. Only Shadowfax could be swift enough to reach them in time.
Look to my coming, at first light on the 5th day. At dawn, look to the east.
With all the Rohirrim packed into Helm's Deep, Strider helped everyone prepare for battle. They were joined by a force of elves from Lorien. But Saruman's forces were so many that even the bravest wondered how they could possibly win. The men upon the wall trembled at the numbers they faced. Most had seen too many winters, too few. But all were brave and stood their ground with Strider and his friends. The orcs forced their way into the fort through a drain under the wall. Gimli rushed to seal the drain, but he needed Aragorn to keep the orcs away while he worked. A battering ram was rolling up the causeway towards the main gate. The wounded villagers reached the courtyard, but the orcs were close behind them. They wouldn't last long unless Aragorn could close the gate.
Aragorn! Quick! The wheel! By the gate!
Aragorn closed the gate, but the orcs came over the wall with ladders. Even as Theoden spoke, orcs were scaling the outer walls. They had to be held back, or all would be lost. Just as the drawbridge was raised, the orcs broke through the main gate.
I've broken through! Retreat! Fall back! Fall back!
Theoden Theoden and his men fell back as an Uruk-hai champion stormed into the courtyard. Only Aragorn could hope to stand his ground against such a fearsome foe. But now, fierce corsairs were sailing up from the south to help Sauron's army attack the great white city of Gondor, Minas Tirith. And so, while the Rohirrim rode to Gondor, Strider traveled to a cursed place and called up ghosts to help him. They had been men who had sworn in the days of Elendil to fight against Sauron, but had broken their promise. Now they agreed to join Strider, so they could fulfill their oaths and finally rest in peace. With their help, Strider took over the ships of the Corsairs and sailed to the battle in their stead. Aragorn's fleet drew near the docks as the fighting approached its peak.
Late as usual, pirate scum! There's work that needs doing! Come on, you sea rats! Get out of your ships!
There's plenty for the both of us. May the best wolf win.
Minas Tirith was surrounded by the armies of Mordor. Sauron's orcs covered the Pelennor fields, and trolls pulled huge siege towers toward the walls. Aragorn would have to fight his way through them to reach the city. Far above the city, a great flying beast carried the Witch King of Angmar, the very same Ringwraith who had hurt Mr. Frodo at Weathertop. The beast's blood-curdling screams echoed through the city as it swooped to batter the defenses. Meanwhile, Sauron's siege towers drew ever closer to the walls of Minas Tirith.
You are soldiers of Gondor. No matter what comes through that gate, you will stand your ground. Hold them back! Do not give in to fear! Stand to your posts!
Aragorn had fought bravely, but no man could kill the Witch King.
You have failed. The world of men will fall.
The riders of Rohan had come to aid Minas Tirith in its hour of need. And out of the midst of the battle rode Éowyn, bringing Aragorn's trusty horse, Brago. As the last of the Oliphants fell, a great wail was heard across the battlefield.
You fool! No man can kill me. Die now.
The Witch King of Angmar had fallen, struck down by a woman's hand. But the battle wasn't over yet. The enemy threw all their remaining strength against the city in one last desperate attack. Minas Tirith was saved, and the armies of Sauron fled. But the war was not yet done, and a hard decision awaited.
Release us. You gave us your word.
Very handy in a tight spot, these lads, despite the fact they're dead.
I hold your oath fulfilled. Be at peace.
Maybe they would regret it later, but Aragorn was a man to keep his promises. The Oliphants were done for, and the Witch King was dead. All the orcs had fled back to Mordor, and Minas Tirith was still standing. Strider had won.
Hooray!
But they couldn't cheer for long. Sauron was much too strong to let this setback stop him. While there was a chance of getting the ring, the world was still in danger. And two hobbits were climbing right up to his back door at that very moment.
You and Mr. Frodo.
That's right. At any second, Sauron could have spied us out, and Strider knew it. So he came up with a plan to distract him. Then and there, he marched the army forth. Elves, men, dwarves, and hobbits, right up to the Black Gate itself, to challenge Sauron to one final battle for Middle-earth.
Hold your ground! Hold your ground! A day may come when the courage of men fails, but it is not this day! This day we fight!
We can give Frodo his chance if we keep Sauron's eye fixed upon us. For Frodo.
Just then, a hideous, corrupted man strode through the gate. He was Sauron's lieutenant, sent to challenge Aragorn. Sauron finally felt the ring's presence, and his eye turned away from the battle. But me and Mr. Frodo had already reached the foot of Mount Doom. All Aragorn could do now was hold on and hope we could destroy the ring.
You're making that up.
The young'uns don't remember the War of the Ring, but there'll always be stories. That's where evil belongs, in tales of long ago, safely vanquished by heroes. So let's enjoy ourselves in proper Hobbit fashion, and remember all those stories of folk, like Frodo Baggins, and Gandalf, and Aragorn, King of Men.